Today on Thrive Smarter, why we're in the solopreneur era, how to move from concept to launch when starting a business, how Thrive Solopreneur Collective works, the embarrassing thing I learned about the name I chose for Thrive after it was already launched. My name is Cree. I'm host of Thrive Smarter and founder of Thrive Solopreneur Collective. In this episode, I'll be covering all of these topics along with a bit about my background. Let's get ready to thrive. We are living in the solopreneur era. So let me start by just going over some data that's coming out of the SBA here in the United States. And they're saying that roughly 81 to 83% of all U.S. businesses have no employees. And there are about 33 million small businesses in the U.S. right now, and 27 million of those are solopreneurs. So solopreneurs are businesses with no employees, according to this data and the SBA. And that just leads me to believe that there's never been a better time than right now to be a solopreneur. Not only are we seeing these large size numbers, I personally just kind of thought there were a lot of solopreneurs out there, but this data is backing that up and saying that upwards of 80% of small business owners are solopreneurs. And with the advancement of AI, there's automations, there's tools, there's so much out there that you can use at your disposal to run an efficient business without having to hire employees. Right now is the time, and it's only going to get better. With that said, community matters now more than ever. Solopreneurs don't have internal teams, so it's nice to be able to reach out to a group of people who might be going through the same thing that you are, crowdsource ideas to come up with solutions to overcome challenges, and also just learn from other people. See what other people are doing in terms of the tools they're using, the systems they're using, and maybe that would be a great way for you to learn from them and incorporate that into your business to make things run more efficiently. So allow me to officially welcome you to the solopreneur era. If you are already a solopreneur and you're watching this episode on YouTube, let me know in the comments below the type of business that you're running. And if you are looking to become a solopreneur, or maybe you already are one and have some new ideas, let's talk about how you bring a concept to launch and what all of that entails. My advice is to start small, listen, and then iterate from there. So a great example of this is Thrive. Actually, this is the third iteration of an idea that I had a number of years ago. If you've been following my story this whole time, you know that I launched the Small Business Talk podcast. And what I did with that show is I invited small businesses to join me and talk about their business and what they're doing to overcome their challenges. The thing is I found myself wanting to dive deeper into those challenges and provide real support for listeners, especially when it comes to tech. I think tech is something that's very challenging for business owners and solopreneurs. And so I just found that podcast and those conversations just didn't provide enough information. It was essentially kind of too broad. And then from there, I iterated to the Actionable Marketer podcast. I wanted to place more of a focus on marketing. In addition to tech, marketing is also another black hole for a lot of solopreneurs. It takes a lot of time and resources to market your business. And again, I found myself being pigeonholed into a topic, and I wanted to speak about other things that come up when you're a solopreneur, like how do you do sales, and how do you build out automations, and how do you take advantage of AI now that that's a thing. And so that podcast also kind of led me to a dead end. And now we've arrived at Thrive Solopreneur Collective. This is where I feel like I really need to be. Along the way, I've been listening to feedback, and as people chime in with questions and so on, I think that this is a space that will allow me to take the conversation wherever the community needs to go. And that's what I mean by listen. If you are familiar with marketing practices, you know that a lot of marketing is experiments. You put out different ideas, and then as soon as you find an idea that resonates with your audience, then that's the path you go down. And that's really what I mean by listening and iterating, is put an idea out, and before you spend too much time, money, and resources on it, test it in small increments. Start reaching out on social media or whoever you think your audience is or wherever you think they might be. Start talking about it, get some ideas. Don't put too much money behind everything. And as you put those feelers out, you'll know if it's good or not, if it's going to go ahead and grow from there. So that's what I mean by start small, listen, and iterate. It's kind of the same path that I've taken with Thrive Solopreneur Collective. And I found that to be a great way to bring an idea or a concept to launch. So though Thrive is the third iteration of this idea, Thrive is still pretty small. And next week, I am going to talk about my tech stack, what I'm using right now to launch Thrive and how I am keeping it small. I'll cover that in next week's podcast episode. But the core lesson here is really, whatever you're doing now, whatever job you have, whatever business you have, keep that. Start small, experiment, and then grow. Once you have that proof of concept, then it's fine to put pedal to the metal and move forward. We've touched on Thrive today. Now that you have a general idea of how it works, I really want to dive in and share with you how to get the most out of this experience. This podcast, I'll be sharing ideas here. I'll be bringing guests in later on to join the show. If we've got questions or challenges, then I'll include people who are experts in those fields so that we can all learn and grow together. From there, we'll be continuing the conversation in our community. If you go to community.thrivesoloco.com, you can join in two different ways. One is a free membership where you'll receive updates and you can log in and just kind of see what's going on in the community. If you'd like to be more involved, there is a paid tier that will give you the ability to ask questions in the community. You can also leave comments. I will personally be interacting in those comments throughout the week. So you can leave comments based on posts that are in the community, and some of your questions might be answered there. And then I am going to be hosting a live Q&A every month. It will be called Thrive Live, where you'll be able to ask questions beforehand. I'll cover as many questions as I can during the live Q&A session. And if for some reason you aren't able to make the live Q&A session, you will have access to all the recordings. And again, this is all under the paid membership tier. The idea of Thrive is to be cyclical. So whatever challenges or topics we're talking about in the community, that's going to drive whatever I talk about here on the podcast or whoever I invite to join us as well. In addition to that, I do plan on putting out how-to videos. So if we have a topic or if we're exploring a tool or anything like that, I'll be putting detailed videos together that includes step-by-step instructions so that for those who aren't as comfortable as tech, you'll be able to watch those videos and set things up or implement some of these systems and tools that we talk about here in the community. And then, of course, once the podcast episodes are out and those how-to videos are pushed live on our YouTube channel, then again, we will circle back to the community environment where we'll pick up on the conversation there, and that will feed and drive our discussions, and it'll just move in a nice big circle so that we can make sure that all of your questions are answered. Now that you know a little bit more about Thrive, I do want to share my background so that you have a better understanding of kind of where I'm coming from and what I'm bringing to the table. I launched my first business about 10 years ago, and I launched as a solopreneur. My goal was never to have employees, and 10 years later, I've been able to continue to not have to hire employees for my business. Before that, I worked for corporate tech companies. I built software applications, also web-based applications. That includes websites. Ultimately, I oversaw marketing teams, and as marketing evolved, video became more important, and that's where my video production background comes from. All this to say, I'm very comfortable living in a space of technology. I also am passionate about bringing people together in a community, and this is a space that I thrive in. And of course, that's the name of this community. And my hope is that with all that experience and knowledge, I'm going to bring to you here, along with everybody else who's part of the community, that all of us will thrive as well. So before we wrap up, as the idea of Thrive came together, I selected the name Thrive Solopreneur Collective. I went online and searched, made sure that there weren't any copyrights or trademarks or anything like that. And then it came to selecting social media handles. Well, I wanted to shorten the name and make it a little easier, and also so that I could find social media handles, since it's getting more and more difficult to do so. So I landed on Thrive Solo Co. And as I launched the brand, I realized that Thrive Solo Co. can also be read as Thrive So Loco. And, business ownership can feel very crazy sometimes. So guess what? We're rolling with it. Thank you for tuning in to episode 1 of Thrive Smarter. If you feel like this is your kind of thing, be sure to subscribe and follow along. If you'd like to continue on with the conversation, head on over to community.thrivesoloco.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.